Still on the minister, she says government needs to realign its spending priorities to save essential services from crumbling. This says the education sector is facing a crisis with a shortfall of between 70 and 188 billion rand. The department has been unable to fill teacher posts, with the Western Cape already reducing the basket of posts by 2025. Gwarube says unless the government reviews its spending, essential services will crumble. Joining us now for more on the budget cuts is Shirley Mlombo. She's the Northwest Provincial Manager of the South African Human Rights Commission. Good afternoon, Ms. Mlombo. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. So today we got to hear of the extent of the impact that the budget cuts have on the provincial departments. The education system is clearly under immense pressure. Your reaction as the Human Rights Commission?
Good afternoon to you and your viewers. As indicated in our statement, as the South African Human Rights Commission, we are gravely concerned about these developments because of their impact on jobs as well as other sectors in the education sector. And like the minister, we are concerned about the ultimate impact that this cuts will have on the right of access to education for many of our learners who are currently in the system.
And one assumes even just the infrastructure programs that have seen quite a significant backlog, that in fact would be exacerbated here if you're going to see the significant budget cuts.
Certainly, and that is our fear as a South African Human Rights Commission, that whilst many of the discussions have been around your jobs, which of course are important, there's been little discussion about the impacts of these budget cuts on other facets of education, like infrastructure. And our courts have already found that infrastructure is not an ancillary issue to education. It is also a core component or element of the right of access to education. So when infrastructure is compromised, it goes without saying then that the right of access to education is compromised.
Now, many are looking to you for any kind of intervention at this point. How do you intend to assist in this matter?
As a South African Human Rights Commission, as a starting point, it will be important for us to engage with all the relevant stakeholders. We will be engaging with the minister as well as other stakeholders, including the Portfolio Committee for Education as well as Treasury, to discuss the impacts of these budget cuts and to explore mechanisms to ameliorate some of these impacts.
Now, when you say you'll be speaking to Treasury, I mean, on the face of it, it looks as though there are many competing interests. The Education Minister has also committed to speak to Treasury, but do you really believe they would be able to maneuver in any way at this point, because they've consistently stressed that they just have no funds?
We do understand that the country as a whole is operating in the context of budget deficits. But I think the statements that there is no money, we have to critically look at those statements and look at what are we finding money for when we say we don't have money for education, because there are lots of issues that the public is already questioning to say you don't have money for education. How do you have X, Y, and Z, money for X, Y, and Z? The budget pressures across. I don't think we should be taking those statements at face value without critically looking at the national budget as a whole to look at areas that we can possibly compromise on to ensure that key services like your education and your health are not compromised in the short to long term.
All right, Ms. Mlombo, thank you very much for joining us on The Full View. That's Shirley Mlombo. She's the Northwest Provincial Manager of the South African Human Rights Commission.